Welfare. Provision of facilities. Outline for requirements of welfare facilities that an employer must provide for his employees according to the workplace requirements of most national legislation. One. Sanitary conveniences relative to the number and gender of persons employed. 2. Washing facilities with respect again to the number of persons employed and the type of work undertaken. 3. Fresh drinking water availability, potable with drinking vessels. 4. Accommodation for clothing, that is for outside clothing whilst wearing work clothing and vice versa. 5. Facilities for changing to take due account of privacy. 6. Facilities for resting and eating, these to be suitable in number, maintained in a clean condition and be sufficient to meet the number who will use the facility at any one time. Workplace welfare and work environment requirements. Identify welfare and work environment requirements that should be provided in a workplace. The welfare and work environment requirements that should be provided in a workplace include the provision of an adequate number of sanitary conveniences and washing facilities including showers for both sexes, storage areas for clothing including lockers and changing areas, facilities for the cleaning and replacement of working clothes, a rest room away from the working area with the facility for taking food and drink, the provision of effective and sufficient ventilation for the work area, an adequate heating system to maintain a reasonable temperature throughout the building, an adequate standard of lighting for the tasks being undertaken, the provision of adequate space, provision of suitable seating at the workstations, the introduction of control measures to combat excessive noise. Outdoor working, extreme heat. A. Identify 4 health effects of working outside in extreme heat created by the sun. B. Outline control measures that could be used to reduce the effects of the sun on construction workers. Part A. Working out of doors in extreme heat caused by the sun may result in health effects such as burns, damage to the eyes, skin cancer, dehydration, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, sweat rash, prickly heat, headaches, fainting, fatigue and stress. Part B. The control measures that could be used to reduce the effects of the sun on workers include limiting the duration of exposure by job rotation, ensuring periods of work are alternated with periods of rest, avoiding work when temperatures are at their highest, ensuring an adequate supply of drinking water, the use of appropriate clothing for working in high temperatures, persuading workers to adopt a policy of keeping their bodies covered, encouraging workers to maintain their salt levels, working under canopies where this is possible, wearing hats and eye protection and applying sun protection cream. Outdoor working, ultraviolet light, sun, and old temperatures. Outdoor workers may be required to work in variable weather conditions. Describe the measures that can be taken to reduce the risk to workers who are exposed to ultraviolet radiation from sunlight. B. Are exposed to cold temperatures. Part A. The measures that can be taken to reduce the risk to workers who are exposed to ultraviolet radiation from sunlight include the provision of advice to workers on the need to protect themselves from the sun, encouraging them to keep covered up during the summer months and especially at lunchtime when the sun is at its most powerful. The provision of shelter, where workers might take their breaks. Providing sunscreen and urging workers to use it on any part of the body that they are unable to cover up. Part B. The measures that can be taken to reduce the risk to workers who are exposed to cold temperatures include: decide whether the work might be delayed until the weather got warmer without compromising safety. If this was not possible, personal protective clothing appropriate for the environmental conditions would have to be issued to the workers. Workers should be allowed to take more frequent rest breaks in heated facilities and encouraged to drink warm fluids such as soup. Workers should also be given advice on recognizing the symptoms of cold stress, on how the effects of hand-arm vibration syndrome might be exacerbated by working in cold weather, and on the precautions to be taken. Cold working environment. Outline the precautions to be taken to minimize the risks to persons working in cold stores at sub-zero temperatures. The following precautions need consideration for persons working in cold environments. Procedures. Safe system of work. Undertaking a suitable and sufficient risk assessment. The person. Provision of thermal clothing such as insulated suits or jackets, gloves and head covering. Drying out facilities for this clothing. Restricting time spent in the cold store. Regular breaks. The availability of warm drinks. Precautions against being locked in the cold store, such as doors capable of being opened from the inside and alarms. Measures to protect the employees against the escape of refrigerant gas. Equipment. Racking designed to withstand low temperatures. The removal of ice buildup. The need for pre-employment examinations and continuing health surveillance. The provision to employees of information and training on the potential hazards associated with this type of work and the precautions to be observed. Workplace lighting. Effects of inadequate lighting. Describe the effects inadequate lighting in a workplace would have on health and safety. Eye strain is a significant factor if close work is required and the lighting not being adequate to allow this. In addition, a brighter level of lighting may be required for an older person doing such work when compared to a younger worker. Headaches as a direct result of the eye strain noted above. person's ability to concentrate on the work may be affected by either eye strain or the resultant headache. This may be exaggerated by flickering lights. Adopting poor posture insofar as the persons affected will be adjusting their work position to achieve better vision. Tripping over unseen objects may be due to excessive shadows. Human error is likely to increase as there will be an inability to see or perceive certain hazards. Flickering lights may induce pre-existing medical conditions such as certain types of epileptic fits. Note: both individual health risks and physical risks are required response to this type of question. Workplace lighting, risk assessment, open plan office. Outline which factors that should be considered in an assessment of the adequacy of lighting within an open plan office. The tasks being carried out, detailed close work or general lighting. The age of persons doing the work. Older persons may require a brighter level of lighting. The equipment being used. The size and layout of the office, that is, distance of workstations to windows and the use of partitions. Natural light available at different times of the day and during the year. Seasonal. Suitability of the number, type, intensity and hue of artificial lights. Computer screen glare and/or shadow. Shadowed areas of the work environment may increase the likelihood of hazards being generated. Localized lighting, need for and availability of. Maintenance of non-functional, flickering, damaged or dirty lights. Provision and adequacy of emergency lighting. Violence between workers. Identify control measures that an employer could take to reduce the risk of violence between workers. The control measures that an employer could take to reduce the risk of violence between workers include briefing staff on problems that are likely to occur and giving them training in dealing with them, such as de-escalation techniques. Introducing a policy of zero tolerance for workplace violence. Setting up procedures for reporting any occurrence of violence. Providing counseling for both perpetrators and victims of violence. Arranging for relocation in different parts of the worksite where this is possible. Introducing a policy for alcohol and substance misuse, including the disciplinary action to be taken against offenders. Prohibiting the carrying of weapons on site. Employing security personnel together with CCTV. Introducing a recruitment strategy.